Naholowaa. Naholowaa.
Naholowaa. For today's sports fans, I'm Patrick Lujan, GuamSportsNetwork.com. We are out here in the football fields of Simon Sanchez High School, and we are talking with 7-time high school championship coach Jimmy Naholowaa. Jimmy, coach, thanks for joining us here on a special one-on-one conversation. We're going to talk about football. Welcome to GuamSportsNetwork.com.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here. I had to be here.
You had to be here. So you've been coaching on Guam for almost 40 years, dating back to the mid-1970s. Tell us about the evolution of the sport, first and foremost, of how the game was played back then as compared to today.
Back then, as far as playing, we had fewer restrictions as far as hitting. That's probably the biggest change, the way you could hit back then and now. Also, something that's changed is players. Caliber players.
The caliber players.
Caliber players.
Better, worse?
It was more competitive back then because more kids came out and we actually had to cut. Here we don't cut. We take whoever comes out and we try to use them. And there's years we actually struggle with how many players we have. In fact, I have not seen but maybe 2 years where we didn't struggle with enough players. Even our championship years, we had decent numbers, but a lot of people not without football experience still forced us to use players to go both ways.
With football being in the first quarter of the school year, does that make it a little bit more challenging as far as recruiting football players and getting them prepared for the season?
Being that it's the first sport of the year, it's the most challenging because grades that I use in the fourth quarter, in the fourth quarter, man, the kids they're already in summer mode. They're not putting as much effort into school as they should because they're getting ready to take off for the summer. And so we lose an awful lot more athletes first quarter than we probably do any other quarter because they just that summer mode. The only advantage that we have is incoming freshmen. If they're incoming, they're not restricted to grades.
So speaking of facilities, we're here in Sanchez. It's not much of a football field, or soccer field. It's just kind of an open space. Yet the Sharks, year in and year out, come competitive. How does that work?
They come out prepared. We can't use the field as an excuse. We've never had a field, so we can't use it as an excuse. As we tell our kids, our team's only as good as the athletes that come out. So if these kids come out, they put a lot of work, they have that desire to learn so they can play the game, then that's going to basically set our season. It's going to make our season. These athletes who come out and do what they have to do for whatever they have to do. But man, I'd like to say, God, it's our field it's holding us back, so we can get a field, but it's not. Honestly, it's not.
We're talking about you coaching for almost 40 years. You're probably coaching the second, maybe third generation of some of your first athletes that you coached back in the 70s. Name some of the generational athletes from their fathers to today.
Man, as much as I can remember, guys that I've coached, Fred Tupaz, I remember he's got a son. He's got a son that's playing. Who played in high school. There's actually a bunch of guys that I'm having a senior citizens moment right now. Because you're talking about guys who graduated back in the middle and late 70s. It might be easy to
they might have their grandkids playing for you already.
Well, that's going to be really hard because I started at JFK. And then I went to Inarahan,
right?
Because at that time there were relatives on my wife's side that were playing football, and they needed a coach, and I thought that'd be a good challenge because they were having a really dismal season. So I moved over there for that reason. So the guys that I'd coached up at JFK, you kind of lose track. So then after that I went to FD. Started that program with Andre. And after that, then I tried to move up to Sanchez when I got into the DOE. But those kids now, like I said, I could see some of them starting with the FD guys.
Having them come through.
Yeah.
Cool. Not many people know that you're a big fisherman. And
I'm not that big, but I fish.
Give us the scenario and the similarities of fishing and football.
Differences with fishing is no one but the fishermen see it. But with football, everybody sees that.
What does fishing do to you or for you?
Relax.
Very relaxing.
Really relaxing, Plus, I can go to work and, our whole department's eating fish for the next 2 or 3 days. You name it, raw, cooked, But with football, it's a lot more stressful worrying about being able to make a team. Do the kids have grades? Another stressful thing. Going from, example, this year, we expected a team full of returnees. We have less than half, because a bunch of kids didn't make grades. If I go fishing, if the fish aren't biting, I just don't go.
So you're defending champions. You're having a difficult time with the players coming out. You have the target on your backs. How much more pressure is that heading into the season?
To me, it's not pressure on me. The pressure's on the kids. They're the ones who won the championship. Basically, the kids that came out last year, man, did outstanding jobs. Some kids who never played in high school came out and made big differences. The kids who stepped up, had to learn their positions and execute their plays. That's where it was.
Right.
We're coaching. We're kind of helping and we're trying to guide these guys. We cannot make them do what they're supposed to do. It's something that they've got to pick up. Whatever they do after that, it's not a result of us. It's a result of them. How much they put into it.
Pressure's on them.
Yeah, the pressure's on them because and they've got to be here.
Right.
Okay. We're already here, and they have got to be here to be at practice, to make their grades, and make the team. We're just taking whatever they give us. So there's really no pressure. And at the same token, we don't take the pressure on other coaches. We can emphasize when, oh man, like W last year lost all their kids.
Yeah.
They started with brand new team. Kids weren't coming out like us, but I thought they had the biggest hurdle to jump. But they came out and these kids worked hard and look where they went.
Yeah, went pretty far.
Man, I'm so amazed at how well those guys came through and how well the coaches brought these guys along, knowing that they had even bigger hurdles than we did.
Yeah.
I think so.
Finally, let's talk about systems. Anyone who knows high school football in Guam knows that Jimmy's going to run the wishbone. Last year in the championship game, you ran the same plays. GW defense couldn't stop it. Over all these decades, why have you stayed with the same system year after year after year?
Well, like anybody else, GW runs the same system. They run their I-back and their spread. Though there has their motion at times. Probably the only teams that have changed, JFK, Ukadu, Southern, because of their coaches, and FD. They change with the coaches. But for the coaches who've been here for a while, it's just we're all running our same system. And I guess with everybody else, it's not broke. Why do you fix it?
Simple as that.
Yeah, and look at the success the teams, GW's had with theirs. Look at the success Lubera has with theirs. It's their same basic offense. We all see it from the first game on. Same with GW. I mean, it's there. It's up for you to stop.
So as basic as your wishbone offense is, you love it.
Yeah, because it's so simple, and we go with the wishbone because, like I said, we're starting with 16 guys. We've got 16 guys 2 weeks before the first game, off and on. We don't have time to teach a whole lot. Just give you responsibilities first, and we'll go with something simple. Then we'll expand off of that. Because there's no sense teaching the kids a whole bunch of stuff they're not going to grasp. That wishbone, it's really simple. You know, we give you your simple assignments, you know, and you work at that. At least we give you something to work with. You know, and as the season goes by, we start to expand every practice. So once we got the wishbone down pat, then we'll go to our spread offenses and stuff. But at the end of the season, if you can't stop this one, you know, we didn't open up with anything else. We threw a couple things that work, and the wrench and the whole works, you know, made people play honest, you know, so we go right back to work.
Right.
But we didn't have to break out our other offenses because the first one kept working.
Coach Jimmy, thanks for joining us here on this one-on-one interview, and thanks for joining us here on GuamSportsNetwork.com. Until our next one-on-one interview, I'm Patrick Lujan.